Just recapping the game, obviously a tough emotional loss for our staff and team, and the guys were very invested and fought hard to win the game. It was a great turnout and environment, and it was awesome to see Coach Cower and his family and deserving wonderful recognition for a great guy, alum, coach that admire so much, and thankful that he was able to be here with all of his family, and it's great to see him and see the fans recognize him the way they did. As a team, you win as a team, you lose as a team, and we know that we have a lot of things to focus on to get the scoreboard in our favor. It was really a game of two halves. The first half, I felt like we played complementary football. Even though we didn't score the number of points you'd like to see, we did not turn the ball over. We forced 2 turnovers on defense. As a team, we only had 2 penalties, went in at half up 10-0. Played a tremendous first half defensively. The second half, obviously, the opposite with what we did offensively. You turned the ball over 3 times, and as a team, we had 8 penalties in the second half, and that's just too much to overcome against a team like that, and they won the second half 13-0. Ultimately, that was the difference in the game. And, it was really tough. Defensively played a great game. I know there's things there that they can still do better. But top-ranked offense coming in to hold them to 20 yards rushing, to dominate on third down, force 3 turnovers, get their quarterback out of rhythm, had 4 sacks, and then at the end of the game had back-to-back end-of-game stops to give us a chance. Had the tough running into the kicker call, which took our timeouts from us, but they were still able to go out there and get us another shot. From a negative standpoint on defense, obviously the couple deep balls that we gave up and then some penalties allowed them to get points. I thought our kickoff return continues to be exceptional with Julian at the end of 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And that was real close to going all the way. Braden had a great kick to end the first half. The negative was our punt coverage. Gave up a 26-yard return on a play where we didn't have very good hang time. But moving forward, we need to obviously perform better offensively, and everyone's a part of that dysfunction, and also everyone's a part of that solution. And I always start with that. I think you can look at things from 2 angles. It always starts with me, and as the head coach, I have to do everything I can to help the players, to help the staff, and that's really the trickle down from leadership. It starts with me, and so when things aren't good in any area, I own that as the head coach. And then goes to the coordinators and the position coaches, and then the players have to go out and execute at a high level. And so, I own that, and I look forward to fixing it, with the guys and seeing Coach and I and his staff and these players. What we've done well has been, something that we'll continue to do well, but the things we haven't, we have to fix. And to me, it starts just playing together, and the chemistry offensively needs to be better. We need to galvanize, and these guys like each other. They're good teammates. It's a matter of just playing better together, what I like to call 11-man football, 11 as one. First year in the system, you can see that, especially this weekend, we were disjointed. And playing in harmony with strain and focus, that's what you want to see. And you do see that. Obviously, we're in our 3rd year in Tony's system on defense. We're in our 1st year in Roberts, and we're just not in the same areas right now. But we can get there, and I'm excited to help the team do that. It's clear that we need a spark on that side of the ball. And MJ Morris is going to take over as our starting quarterback, and he is ready to lead the offense. As I stated in the past when I was asked, it was my plan and our plan to redshirt MJ and allow him an opportunity to develop behind Brennan. But plans sometimes need to change, and the time is now because it's what's best for our team. And MJ's excited, for the opportunity to lead the football team, and I do believe that he's ready. Brennan will be a great teammate to MJ, just as MJ has been to Brennan in his role. And Brennan has a role on our team. He's a very competitive, tough guy, and he understands this is what's best for the team right now and what's needed. I got tremendous respect for him and what he's gone through, and I don't think people really pay attention to those types of things. 2 weeks ago, we played a very emotional game at UVA, a place where, he was the quarterback for a long time and went through the tragedy that was there a year ago, and then came back to our stadium and just didn't have a good game, and that happens sometimes. But for what this team needs right now, it needs a spark. And I do believe MJ can be that for our offense. But let me make this clear, changing the quarterback, everyone has to be better. This isn't throwing Brennan under the bus and pinning it on him. It's the opposite, It starts with me, and I own that. Everyone has to be what changes. The chemistry is about everyone. And playing well around the quarterback. I've always said this, I don't care what side of the ball you're referring to. It starts inside out. When you play well from the center of your offense all the way out. And that's where we got it. It starts with the center, then it goes to the guards, then it goes to the tackles, then it goes to the tight ends, the running backs, the receivers. Everyone playing in a concerted effort in harmony with whoever that quarterback is. And when your protection is really good, then the plays, or the run blocking is really good, then the plays look better. And so we got a lot to improve on. And I'm excited for the opportunity to go and prove it, and I think the cohesion and the chemistry and all that's going to come. It's a challenge. If there's one thing that I would pride my program on, this program on, and myself on, is persistence and resiliency and grit. Like, those are things that are just part of our DNA. And though the results aren't what people and what we wish we had at this time, there's a lot of games, a lot of weeks, a lot of football left. And so, 8 weeks, 7 games, plus the postseason. If we're fortunate to earn our right to continue to play, we're going to take it 1 week at a time. And this week's all about finding a way to beat the next team, which is Marshall, an undefeated team, a team that has very athletic quarterback, talented runners. Their running back's a dynamic player. The receivers are always skilled. We've played Marshall and watched them for a long time. Know several of their coaches, got a lot of respect for how hard they play. They're tough guys. Their defense is ranked in the top 25, and last year they went to Notre Dame and won. We know that we're going to get their best. They've already beat Virginia Tech this year in their 4 games. And so we got a lot to work on, and excited about the challenge and the opportunity, and look forward to being home. I hope our fans come back and do the same thing, show up. They were great in the second half. Coming back from the parking lot after halftime was awesome to have a full stadium, and I know our team appreciates when we get that kind of support. Questions?
Ethan.
Coach, what did you see from MJ Morris during practice so far this season in fall camp that made you comfortable giving him the starting quarterback job?
Well, he has come, ever since he's been here, he's come to practice with great energy. He's always done that. And so each week, since Coach and I's got here, you can see him growing in the offense. That part is now second thought to him. In the spring he was learning it, now he knows it. But he's always been an encourager, to guys around him, and he's got a positive outlook, and, the way he can throw the football, obviously he can do that pretty well. So there's certain things that, he brings to the table. But, I think more than anything right now, it's just he's in a really good headspace. He's excited, and I think that's the spark that we need.
Jaden?
Hey Dave, so I have seen some comments from longtime Wolfpack fans, some of whom have said they're giving away their season tickets because they're so disappointed with how the season has gone so far. How would you respond to them as you move forward with the season and with some of these lineup changes?
I can't make decisions for fans. They're going to have to do what they think's best for them. We're going to do everything we can to win games and give our players every chance that we know how to go be competitive. We're not quitting on them, and I would hope that they would understand that as much as we hate losing, they hate losing, to stick with the guys and continue to have that resiliency and grit that NC State is known for.
James?
Yeah, Dave, Ja'Carrius Peak played a major role against Louisville. He got a lot of reps at right tackle. Just evaluate his performance in really his first true start there. It looked like he did some good things.
He did, yeah. I actually just met with him and proud of him. He went in against a really good defensive line. And I thought in pass protection he did extremely well. There's a couple things fundamentally he can do better, anticipate things. In the run game, he's a guy that strains on the line of scrimmage. He's very athletic, and he's got a great energy about him. He plays really hard. He practices really hard. So it was great to get him that experience. I know that will serve us and him well moving forward.
And just to follow up, was that also a way to maybe get you a little more depth inside? I know you were able to play 10 at guard some.
Yeah.
Does that kind of went into the thinking as well?
Well, with Dylan out, we felt like just to get our best five on the field, that was the way to do it, was to get Peak at tackle and Tim inside, and that got us the chance to really get our best five in the game and still have a rotation going. With Dylan returning, which we expect him to play this week, it allows us to move Tim back outside if that's what we want to do. So with injuries, sometimes you have to adjust.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
Rob?
Yeah, Dave, no two quarterbacks are the same. Is there any schematic readjustments, realignments, or anything you have to do to calibrate for the QB change?
Yeah, I know Coach and I will always try to play to what a player's strengths are and do what they can do best. That's where the offense starts. To tell you what those are, I don't think would be smart going into the week of the game. But I would tell you that Coach and I is going to use the skills of the guys he has to the best of his ability. That's what he's good at.
Brian? Cardle?
Yes, thank you, Coach. Especially building the kind of the overall offense, making the switch from Morris to QB. How do you think the offensive line is how can they handle the job well?
Well, I'm hoping everyone handles it well. I think that's their responsibility as teammates, is to support the guy that's in the position that he's in and, go play as hard as you can. And I think, as a former offensive player, I always took it personal, when players tackled my running back or tackled my quarterback. You want to protect those guys and help them, and I would expect it to be no different in our locker room. That's the expectation and the standard, is to go play as hard as you can for your teammates. And I know MJ will bring great energy to those guys.
Noah?
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. You talked about looking for a spark, kind of making, MJ the quarterback now. What did you kind of see from him, the games he played last year, and how do you kind of hope that he can take that experience and take it into this weekend's game?
Well, he's got a very calming effect on game day. He's not a guy where the lights are too big. He just jumped in as a freshman, went and played. And some guys, you'd see him shrink in those scenarios. He doesn't. He's the same guy in games as he is in practice. And so his level of ability to just be himself and whatever's going on around him doesn't impact him in a negative way, I think really shows his maturity. Again, the decision to redshirt him at the beginning of the year was about development. It wasn't about he's not a good player. As we went with experience and wanted to give him a chance to have an extended period of time to be healthy and develop as a player, and I think it served him well. He looks really good right now. And so we're bailing on that a little earlier than expected, but he got an entire offseason and all of training camp and the whole month of September here under his belt. He feels good, and it's what the team needs.
Ryan Murphy?
Yeah, Coach. When did you make the decision, and how did you tell Brennan in particular? And given that he's a transfer and all that went into that, how difficult conversations?
Yeah, I came in Saturday. We played Friday night, as you know, and I watched the game a bunch of times and then sat down with the coaches on offense, and we watched a bunch of it together, talked about the season so far, talked about where we're at and where we need to go. And then Sunday, when we came back in, made that decision, met with those guys individually and let them know what we were doing. They both handled it as good teammates and competitors would. Like I said, Brennan's going to be a great teammate. He handled a very tough conversation as well as he possibly can. I think my respect for him has always been high because he's a super competitive dude, but he is an excellent teammate. And so he handled it as well as you could hope, and you'll see that. You'll see him leading. He'll be on the sideline cheering guys on throughout the game, and if he's needed to play, he's going to play, and he'll come in and play hard.
He's the backup?
Yes.
Thank you.
Noah?
Just a follow-up on that, does making this move now, we have Marshall this week, kind of help make it easier for MJ's transition rather than, the following week having, Clemson and Miami kind of right there?
Well, the following week we play Duke, but I don't think it matters who we play. I don't. And I think you're discounting Marshall by saying that. I mean, this is a top 25 defense we're playing this week. So this is the right time to do this for the football team. It has nothing to do with who we're playing. It's how we're playing, not who we're playing. And this is the right time to do this. And again, it's not what our plan was. Sometimes plans don't go as the way you hoped, and so you have to adjust. And, as fans out there, I hope that they adjust as well, and I think that's the biggest thing you can say is it's a long season, man. A lot of things can happen in the next 7 weeks and will happen in college football. So hang in there, be faithful, cheer hard, and get excited. And we're going to continue to do everything we can here to put our best foot forward as a program, and I would hope that our supporters do the same.
James?
Dave, you mentioned watching the game back, and obviously you said not all of this was on the quarterback. Where are some other areas offensively you felt coming out of that game you really need to get better?
Yeah, I think everywhere. I think everywhere. The protection at times, and that goes on a lot of people. It's not just the O-line, and sometimes it's the D-line doing a better job. But, there was a lot of times in that game where he couldn't sit in the pocket and throw, and he was running for his life. And then there was times where he had good protection. Guys weren't open. And then there was times guys were open with good protection, and he was able to throw the ball, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. And I think, just all of that playing together, it's a function of having good protection repetitively over time so that you trust your pocket as a quarterback, and then your running back's a part of that protection, or sometimes your tight end's a part of that. Sometimes it's the timing of a route, like the guy's supposed to break the route off at however many yards and he doesn't, or you expected him to release inside and he released outside, or vice versa. Like there's a million things going on at once while that defense is coming at you as a QB, and I just think the chemistry of it all has to be better for it all to look right, When you watch our defense, you see guys in sync. And when you watch our offense, we're not. And that's the difference right now, And so we've got to get in sync, and there's lots of things that go into that. That's why I said, the quarterback's always the guy that everyone points at. It starts at the head coach, then it goes to the coordinator, then the position coaches, then the quarterback, then everyone else. And all of us are the ones to blame, and all of us are the ones to fix it, And so I don't think you can just throw anybody out under the bus in this as a reporter. We need to get better, We all know that, and we're going to go get better. And I'm excited for the opportunity to do that.
Purtle?
And Coach, still year one of the nice offense, as you mentioned. How valuable is it going to be to still have Armstrong on the sideline, still have the guys learning the ins and outs of the system?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. You mentioned earlier, you still year one of the coaching knife system. How valuable is it going to be to have Armstrong continue there on the sideline, helping guys?
Yeah, no, look, he knows the offense well. He's been through a lot as a player. He'll be a great sounding board. He'll have energy down there for guys. He'll cheer guys on. So he's going to be a good teammate down there, I guarantee you that. And I know that he'll do a good job helping MJ and the other guys around him.
Ethan?
Coach, I apologize if you've already addressed this and I missed it, but is there any plan to appeal Sean Brown's targeting call?
Yes. So we've submitted the paperwork through the league office, and they turn it in, and then eventually we'll find out, can he play in the first half or not. Right now we just don't have an answer.
Got it. Thanks.
obviously develop feelings and regard for the young men that compete for you. How hard is it to sort of cross that bridge?
Yeah, it's hard. Like we all know why anyone transfers and has 1 year left. Like they want to finish out and have a great year. And like I said, this is a guy you want on your team. He's tough, man. He competes his butt off, and he puts his body on the line every week and runs through people. And he's a good guy. He is. He's just a good person. And so whenever you have to have tough conversations with anyone who does everything he can do and works really hard and it's just not going well, that's not easy for anybody in life, right? And so speak to him from the heart, tell him you love him, and, this is what's best for the organization. He understands that. Like, he's a great guy. And so, but to answer your question, yeah, I mean, delivering hard news as a leader is never the fun part of the job, but it's also a necessary thing. You always have to choose what's best for the organization at the end of the day, and I've had to do that through my tenure here in a lot of different avenues, whether it's staff, systems, different things. 3 years ago, we switched from a 4-down to a 3-down defense, and there's a lot of, why are we doing this? Well, it's really paid off. We're playing really well. Sometimes you make decisions that really work out, and they don't just happen overnight. It takes a little bit of time to get the things in place, and so that's where we're at. We're evolving. I've been saying that since training camp, that this is going to be an evolution, and it's going to continue to grow.
Hey,
Following the Notre Dame loss, when you spoke to us on Monday, you described the locker room as angry when you guys were reviewing the tape and kind of reviewing the loss. How would you say the mood of the locker room was yesterday when you discussed the loss and kind of their motivation and their perspective going into this week's prep?
Yeah, I think it was different. I think in the Notre Dame loss, it was a 3-phase loss. I felt like in that game, all parts involved didn't play complementary football for each other. In that game, we scored 24 points, which obviously we would have loved to have had the other night, and there was spurts in that game where the defense would go 3 and out, the offense would get field position, not take advantage of it, and then the offense would go score to get us back in the game, and then the defense would give up a touchdown. Like, we just didn't play well as a team, even though we had spurts where we played well. Different from the Louisville game. The defense played a good game. Aside from a few deep balls, played a really, really good game. So you had one side of the ball that was frustrated because they did everything that they could probably do, and the other side that, failed is how they felt. And so when you get into those, it's really a tough loss, because one side doesn't get the joy from how they played, and the other side is mad that they didn't live up to what the other side needed. Like, our kids care about each other that way, and they don't want to let each other down, So, it is a proud group of guys that wants to play well as a team, and it's fixable, And so that's the thing now is you look at the pieces that are there, and you're 3-2, you got 7 games left, and the only thing that matters is winning the next game. And you just find a way to do that. And then you get to the next week. All right, how can we win this one? And you just, 1 week at a time. And that's where we're at.
James.
Yeah, Dave, a receiver this past week, Terrell had a good game for you. Previous week, you saw KC. Feels like there's a different guy every week, but no one's really kind of putting weeks on top of each other. How would you evaluate that position?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think KC's been our most consistent on offense in that position. We just had a hard time connecting with him in this past week's game, and something we have to do. We have to be able to get him the football. I was excited. You've heard me talk about Terrell. That he's practiced well, and we're waiting for him to kind of get going, and so it was good to see that happen. He's one of our faster players, and that'll be a good confidence thing for him. But, yeah, I think for a quarterback to know where guys are at, Julian Gray is a guy that's had some big catches this year. Keon had one in Notre Dame. We need to play better collectively and be more consistent. Inside, outside, all of that, and, the chemistry of that with MJ will be a big part of this.
Noah, you want to finish us up?
Yeah, kind of going off of that, at Virginia you talked about, wanting to see more consistency from the running backs kind of in their run game. Where have you kind of seen, like how does it struggled to find that in the last couple of games just from your running backs in that part of the game.
Yeah, we're averaging over 5 yards a carry, taking the VMI game out of it, just in our Power 5 games in the tailback room right now. We need to have more consistent, probably play calling in the run game that way to get those guys a rhythm. I know Robert's talked a lot about that. I think he's trying to figure out or feel out the best way for the O-line with Dylan out. There's been a lot of change, when you look at that. And so the O-line piece with guys moving around, the tight end room had guys moving around. We need to settle in the run game. And so Michael Allen has showed that he can produce some things there. Obviously, we've seen Delbert Mims run hard, and he's hard to bring down. Jordan stepping away and then losing Kendrick was a part of that too. That room dynamic changed, and that's just the reality of what's happened in there. And so, picked up the slack in the run game a little bit, probably a lot with Brennan. Some of that's just him running on his own, but some of those designed runs that you saw. So we need to settle in now that we, have MJ in there with the run game and where we're at, and hopefully we'll have Kendrick coming back to us here soon. All right, thank you guys. Have a good day.